Welcome to the Lowdown Podcast, the show where we dive deep into the topics that directly impact the evolving originator. I'm your host, Connor Bartley. Bam! And joining me today is someone that really represents the future of the mortgage business. In my interactions with him, I've learned that he's a true student of the business, investing in his personal and professional growth. Recently named a NextGen 30 Under 30 award winner, a Cubs fan, if I recall, and serving homeowners in the great state of Indiana and Illinois. Jon Wells, welcome to the Lowdown.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Connor. Happy to be here.
Hey,
I
man,
wouldn't
excited to have you on the show here.
absolutely, for anyone that knows me,
What's
I
that?
wouldn't claim that I'm a Cubs fan. I'm more of a, it's more for business purposes. But yeah, I'm not a huge baseball guy, to be honest with you. I've got a good deal on some tickets.
There you
but
go.
yeah, my girlfriend's a huge Cubs fan, so definitely, for sure.
All right. Fan by association. Sorry to label
Exactly.
you incorrectly, man.
No, you're good.
We'll
I
set
still
the
want, I still
record
want people
straight.
coming at me when they see this on social saying that I'm not a Cubs fan.
Hey, I know if you can see in the background, I'm a big San Antonio Spurs fan. If someone called me a Rockets fan, I'd be like, "Hey, man, we gotta set the
Oh
record
yeah,
straight. That ain't good."
no, for sure. I love
Well,
it.
hey, man, I'm excited to have you on the show. Get your story out there,
Yeah.
and have others that get a chance to see this be inspired by what you have to say. Before we dive in, I really wanted to kind of get some more information on this NextGen 30 Under 30 thing.
hmm
Congratulations on being named to that list and the award. What can you tell us about that? Because I think that's really cool.
Yeah, so it's funny, like a lot of the whole, like, I guess going into that. So I was looking at, myself, my production, and just how do I put myself out there as more of as an authority in my market, right? I know you and I talked about this off camera a little bit, but being someone who's younger in the business, you almost have to have a few, not like accolades or whatever it is, right? To kind of help show that you know what you're talking about, right? And so going into this year, I was like, okay, I was, a top producer at Leader One Financial, which is the company I work at. And I'm like, what else? Like that's a once a year thing. What else can I add to, the award shelf, if you will? It's gonna help give some credibility. And it's not I think all, top producers, right, have some version of an ego, but it's more for me like I want to have some credibility, right? Some like third party validation. That's not just really feeding my ego, but it's also showing other people that okay, I do have some authority and some credibility, right? So I came across, that Next Gen and a few other different, 30 under 30 like publications. And then I ended up, talking with the president of Leader One. And so the president was the one who actually submitted my nomination to some of these different publications. And then just, turns out that this one is one that picked me up and, decided to, give me the award. So it was more, I would say, if you're younger in the business, and even if you're, in your 50s and 50s and whatnot, like having that third party validation, I think that's the important thing. Because again, like it just goes to show that you can only talk about yourself so much before people get sick of it.
Right.
And you have to stand out in your field. So having these third party validations, I think is a great way to be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great call out for anyone, especially someone who's newer in the business. The average age of a loan officer in the business today is, last stat I saw was 48 years old. And a
hmm
lot of people get into mortgage as a second or third or maybe even fourth career. It's
hmm
usually a job that sort of finds you and you don't find it. And so but it's something that a lot of younger people struggle with because you are, managing someone's biggest financial transaction of their life. You need that credibility to earn their trust. And this is kind of what I consider a chess move when others are playing checkers, right? Like it's a
Yeah,
way you were very thoughtful about it. You saw the need and you did something about it. And, a lot of people can't say that. So
for sure.
congratulations on it. I think it's awesome. I hope you, with the other nominations that were submitted, you see some other awards roll in,
Thanks.
and that you get some other things going your way, man. But so moving, forward. Obviously, a young guy in the business. Like, how did mortgage find you? How did you get your start in this?
Yeah, so I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, coming out of high school and everything. I didn't really have a whole lot of concept of like what money was or like how much money was, like a livable wage, right? It's kind of like I would say that's where the bar was. And so I was thinking of different things that I enjoyed doing and where I was working at the time and having conversations and realizing that what I was doing at the time was not going to allow me to have realistically have a lifestyle outside of living at home, right? And so that's when I kind of discovered the mortgage industry through my dad, who at the time was a branch manager for a different mortgage company. And he's like, hey, you can, if you want to come in and start calling leads, like we can just do this, and then you can work your way up from there. So I got my start as, essentially a dialer, calling, old Zillow leads for the loan officers and calling through like different databases and stuff, taking applications, setting appointments, that sort of thing. And then kind of worked my way up into being a loan officer from there. And then I was a loan officer inside of that branch for about 3 years. And then my dad and I parted ways professionally about 2 years ago. And so, since then I've been running the branch, my branch myself, and, just growing it from there. So
That's really awesome, man. So at what point
thanks.
did you realize, okay, I want to stick with this long term? This is the career path for me.
I think honestly, like, as lame as it sounds, I went to like my first industry conference and I was like, this is all right. Like, that's where I'm at an industry conference right now. I'm just got booked into the hotel room and everything. And I don't know, like, maybe it's lame. I get a lot of energy from conferences and I really enjoy traveling for work and doing all that sort of stuff and meeting new people and seeing like what works for them in their business and how do they do things in Cleveland, Ohio versus me working in Highland, Indiana. And what are things that I can take from, these conversations and put into my business and see what works and what doesn't. So like that's really where I think like the first time I did that, I was like, yeah, this is probably what I'm going to end up doing for the rest of my life or something like this,
Yeah. So it was
to
that
where.
collaboration, that environment, just being around top producers, really, because I know what you're at is, a coaching event this week, and so that's awesome that you'll be around other loan officers that are investing in themselves, that are there to learn, there to grow, and learn from each other. And I've been to a few of those myself as well. And yeah, there is an energy, there's an enthusiasm, there's a belief of like
Hmm.
I can, that just, I mean, you can't help but catch on, it's like contagious. So
Yeah, absolutely.
that's awesome, man. Well, in the time that you've been doing loans, helping families, getting people into homes, is there a particular loan that really resonates with you, or a story, or is there just sort of like generically something about helping people that just pulls on your heartstring?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that like there's a lot of different specific examples. So I'll kind of go over like more of like a generality. A lot of the clients that I deal with, as I would I would assume people would expect, are first time home buyers, just because of my age and the types of clientele that I'm receiving and the agents that I go after, right? Like I'm not going after agents that are really over the age of 45, and it's not anything against them. It's just I know who my target market is and the people that are going to respect and trust me and who I'm going to gel with the most. And that's just who I go after. So, with those clientele that are coming in that are first time home buyers, not every single one, but more than a few, they come to me and they're nervous because they got denied by their last lender. Or, they've tried this process before, or they don't think they can. They think they need $30,000 to put down on a home, right? And so, being able to help somebody walk through that home buying process and see the actual change in their their personal life, I think that's super cool. And then the cherry on top is going back, and I use like MBS Highway has is it home report, I think is what it's called. I don't remember the name of it, but I go back in there and I send them their home reports every month, and I can look at the equity they've gained in their home. So somebody that I helped that got denied, that I closed the deal with and saved the day, 3 years ago, they're now $60,000 richer because of something that I was able to contribute and help them out with.
It's huge.
And so that's really where I see a lot of like the um gratification, I guess, on my end of the business, and where I really like feel like, oh yeah, this is working. I really enjoy what I do. It's seeing the effects of how I'm changing people's lives, after the fact of home ownership.
Yeah. So I want to unpack something that you said early in that comment about knowing your target audience, because I think that's a super important thing for any originator, anyone really, to do is to get narrow. How difficult was that decision for you to make? Did you struggle with it? And how long did it take for you to kind of say, okay, I'm not going after everyone. This is my target?
Yeah, it was pretty difficult. So the market that I'm in, it's Northwest Indiana. So there's really two counties that are in that market. So you've got Lake County and Porter County. And I mean, if you pull up agent production in that market, you'll see that in Lake County, I think there's maybe 30 to 40 agents that do more than 12 buys, like 12 or more buy sides per year. So there's just not a lot of agents that do a good amount of production, right? And whereas like I was looking up because I was in Northport earlier this week, and I was looking up like Fort Myers, Lee County, and there's if you use the same criteria, 12 buy sides or more per year, there's 300 agents that have that level of production, right? So, my market is super small. And so, me saying, okay, I'm only going to go after these particular people and, like, not like this, not necessarily level of production, but just who they are as people, right? They're younger like me. They understand, like, how to work with first time home buyers. They're open minded to how, we can get loans done, and they're willing to work with somebody who's a little bit younger, right? It is a grind, and it was one of those decisions. When I made it, I was really scared to make it, and I think it was really maybe like 2 years, almost 2 years ago, when I really pushed into that, because I'd switched coaching groups and I went from doing a lot of old school stuff to still doing some of the old school stuff, but pairing it with posting on social media more, putting out more content, DMing agents and stuff like that. And just that shift of, okay, I'm going to incorporate some of the new school things with the old school activity, that's now led me to really capture those agents that are younger, that have that business to give. And I think that that's like, if you know what you're doing is going to be the right thing, have the conviction to go through with it.
Yeah, and what I think about and what gets me excited about what you're doing is those agents will only get better over time.
Hmm.
And as you get better, right? And they'll
Yep.
remember, hey, this was the guy that was with me in the beginning. So, I mean, it's a huge advantage for you long term because now you're going to reap the benefits of these early relationships later on as everyone just continues to improve. Are you doing, when working with those agents, are you doing anything educationally to help build their business, or how are you bringing value to those relationships?
Yeah, great question. When you bring this up, I do a lot, like I'm doing exclusive events. So this is how I frame it. So I have an accounts pyramid spreadsheet. So I've got like two agents that are channel accounts that send me, essentially a deal a month, right? And then I've got, my accounts, they send me at least a deal a quarter. Usually for some of them it's every other month they're sending me a deal. And I've got like 8 agents there. And I got my top 50. We're referring leads. We just haven't closed more than 3 or 4 deals yet. And we've got about 40 agents in there. And then I've got a lot of prospects, right? And so how I frame this is my cheerleaders are everyone but the prospects, right? And so what I do is I put together a private event, and I pull in, I've got like a waterproofing guy, I've got a like handyman that does like home inspection repairs, my insurance agency that I refer all my home insurance to for my clients, and then the title company that I work with. So I've already got 4 different businesses plus myself that if we all chipped in a couple bucks, we can utilize free resources, like we're all part of the chamber. So the chamber has an event space for us to use for free. So we can use the event space for free. Jimmy John's is going to cost like $100, and
Right.
then really the rest of it's just inviting people and then bringing them out, right? So I'll host a private event, and I co-host it with one of those people, right? And so what it looks like is, okay, Ryan Peterson over at Chicago Title, biggest title rep in my market. Everyone knows Ryan. If they don't work with Ryan, they respect him. And the same, and I would imagine the same thing is said about me. I don't want to talk about myself too much like that, but I would imagine so, right? So when we're doing this event together, it's almost like these seminars that I go to where you have a breakout class and it's two top producing coaches that talk about a particular topic. It's now myself and this other person talking about a topic that we both know a lot about. And so we can draw in these agents because they're not just learning from me, they're learning from Ryan too. And then same thing with Ryan's agents, they're not just learning from him, they're learning from me as well. So we'll bring them in, like we're doing a business planning event on the 16th. And because we host this privately, I'm not advertising it on social media. I'm telling the agents like, hey, I'm inviting, like, this is an exclusive event. If you're on the invite list, it's because I want you to be there. And if you know somebody that's not on the invite list that you think would benefit from this event, please let me know on this, like, separately. And as long as we're cool with them, like we can bring them in, right? And so then we record. I have the girl that works at the insurance company, she records like a bunch of different b-roll footage type things at the event. We then post it, and so we're creating this buzz and this FOMO from agents that are in the market that didn't get the invite. And so now when I tease it the next time, and I'm like, hey, if you're not on the invite list, shoot me a DM and I'll see if there's space for you. Now I'm getting DMs from agents that want to come to the event, and they immediately go on the prospects list.
That is so smart. It reminds me of something that Gary Vaynerchuk, I just remember seeing him say this years ago. It was like the most popular kids in high school were the ones that had the parties at their house. And so if you host the party, you suddenly become more popular, right? And what's so smart about that is you're on stage, you've got the other expert up there with you, your authority level, rises through the roof because you're on the stage. And that's kind of the magic of the one to many approach, is
Hmm.
that by just being up there in front of everyone, suddenly your credibility is through the roof. And I love what you're doing with the B-roll and the posting and creating the FOMO. Smart, man. Like,
Yeah.
you do those every month, or how often are you running these?
We do them every month.
Okay.
So we'll do, like, we did a panel event last month. We're doing business planning this month. In November, I'm going to do a volunteer thing for like Thanksgiving. So we'll probably do like we have to pick the exact event that we're doing. My assumption is we're going to volunteer at a food pantry, and then afterwards we're going to come back to my office and have like pizza, cocktails, like whatever. And then we'll skip December, and then January we'll kick off with another panel, right? So I like to do panels once a quarter because I can draw in other top producers to be on the panel. And that's a really easy way for me to link with people that otherwise wouldn't take my phone call. And then I can also get people from their office that support them that also do business to come out to my event. And now they get to see me there as well and see me being the moderator. So there's some level of authority that I'm building up that way. So that's a really good hack. If you aren't doing panels, you should definitely do them. But then the next 2 months, we'll do some kind of a breakout class, whether it's how to prep for your taxes with my CPA, or how to how to manage your time, right? Like build out a calendar, or how to generate and convert leads. So there's a lot of different things that, ideas that we use, and different referral partners that we bring in to help educate.
Do you struggle with like what topic to come up with, or have you gotten into a place where you're starting to repeat, or how's that? I've done something like this before, and that's where I would run into like a dead end. Is like, I've done that before, I can't do it again, or does it matter?
I mean, if anything, I actually feel like I have more ideas than I have time for events.
Okay.
Yeah, but I would say, like, so is it going to be repetitive? I'm sure, right? If you do this over a 3 to 5 year period, you're going to be repeating a lot of this stuff. At the same time, though, like I'm at GrowthCon, today, and we're going to be, today's Wednesday, so there's just events today, and then the actual breakout sessions are over the next 2 days. I'm gonna take a few breakout sessions. I already know that I've already taken before, whether it was here or a different coaching platform. But the good thing is, like, reinforcing actually helps with creating the right behaviors, and I think that a lot of agents understand that too. Plus, you can always just throw a little spin on it, like how to use AI to convert leads better, and then now everyone shows up because they think it's about AI, and it's really, and maybe there's a little bit of AI in there, but it's really about lead conversion, right? Um, that's that's, as time goes on, the principles and the classes could be the same, but how you do things are always going to change. Like, I didn't have an email newsletter a year ago, and I have an email newsletter now for my clients, so that's one extra way for me to convert a lead that I can talk to an agent about. And it's the same topic, but there's a different approach now.
Yep. And you could always bring a new person in for that same topic, and it's a
Yep,
fresh perspective, right? So
exactly, 100%.
that's awesome, man. So why do you love what you do? Like, what is it that keeps you going about mortgage?
So I've always been like, I haven't always been an entrepreneur, but like I always felt like I could like, I've always wanted to be able to, you know, beat expectations or, do better than what, my ceiling would be working for somebody else. Right. And so when I was growing up, like I would, basically I was always like running a business, whether it's like a lawn care thing or cleaning a couple houses for some family friends and whatnot. And I would always do things like just enough to afford whatever it was I was trying to buy, right? And so then translate that now like in my actual career, seeing the ability of like, oh yeah, not only is there untapped potential for growth from a business perspective, but I'm now at the point where I've got two team members and like a part-time marketing assistant. And so like I can actually like I was running the math with my LOA because we had lunch. He lives out in Florida. I flew out here early, hung out with my cousins, and then him and I grabbed lunch yesterday. And I was looking at like, okay, top scale. I mean, this guy can make well into the six figures as an LOA because of the compensation package that we have for him and how we're incentivizing him to get more business and to get things done. And it's just really cool to be able to have like somebody that works on your team to have an opportunity like that. Like that's what really drives me is okay, John's gonna win really well because his name's also John. John's gonna win. John's gonna be able to win at everything he wants to do as long as he's willing to do the work, right? Same with Tangi, who's my other assistant. And then, also the borrowers and the real estate agents. Like we're actually helping the real estate agents grow their business. We're actually helping the borrowers get into a home and be able to have, a mortgage that's the best mortgage solution for them in that moment. So it's just a lot of like how can we help these other people achieve what they want to do? I think Zig Ziglar said that like if you help if you help as many people get what they want as possible, you'll get what you want at the end of the day. And it's at the point where like I know that I'm like my expenses are pretty low because I keep my expenses low intentionally. I'm gonna be fine no matter what happens, and like I just enjoy seeing everybody win around me.
That's awesome, man. That is inspiring. So you're out at GrowthCon, you're there to learn. What's next for you? What are you excited about with this event, or just sort of what skills or things are you working on for the next 1 to 3 years that you think are going to be essential for growth in your business?
Yeah, so this I'm gonna I've been keeping this like kind of a little bit close to the vest, but I'll tell everybody what because I don't
Big
know if like
debut
there's
here.
I don't know if anyone's really gonna like steal this idea. And I don't even know if it's a good idea to begin with, so maybe it's not. So but whatever. I think that there's a massive opportunity for myself personally and other loan officers that are, similar age, have a similar mindset, similar structure. So many loan officers that over the next 10 years are going to be getting out of the business. And so my plan right now is building up the inbound leads as much as I can with my referral partners, my agents, and a little bit of online stuff. I know we're not supposed to do that, but a little bit of online stuff. And so right now we had 58 referrals for the month of September. And we've been over 50 for the last 3 months. We haven't hit 60 yet, but we will hit 60 this month. So with all of this inbound business, I'm looking for loan officers that are in their mid to late 50s, possibly early 60s, that they've been doing loans for 20 plus years, and maybe their glass ceiling has been 10 to 15 million a year, right? So they've got big book of business that they've had for the last 20, 30 years, and they don't have a lot of loans right now because the market's a little bit slower for loan officers that are of that caliber that maybe didn't focus on first time home buyers for the last 5 years. And so I can bring them in and say, hey, I've got these leads I can give you. You can work these leads, get them pre-approved, follow up with them. Once they get under contract, pass it off to Tangi. She'll take it from there. And then, since I'm providing the leads, they're not making as much as they normally would on commissions, but they're going to get, a base and they have, this expected income essentially. Plus, I pay them well on their own self-gen deals anyways, so they're making money there. And so they have the opportunity to make, let's say maybe $50,000 or 60 grand more than what they're making right now, which for a lot of people is enough margin for them to be able to live life the way that they want to, right?
Right. Sure.
And then the agreement is they're going to stay with me until they end up retiring. And when they decide to retire, I'm going to keep them in the branch, and we'll still, help, like they can still work a couple of the loans that come through every, from their database, but I'm essentially buying them out on their database and now filling my pipeline with those deals as well. And so, yeah, I don't know if it's going to work or not because we're kind of just starting this right now, but it is, I've seen it happen with some real estate agents that they did this with older, realtors, and, it seemed to work out pretty well for
Yeah.
them.
I think it's incredibly smart because mortgage does not offer an exit strategy for someone who's
Hmm.
looking to retire.
Yeah.
The typical, it's you have a really long career, you have a ton of success, and then you retire and nothing. So to have an off ramp, I think is really smart, and I love the way you're structuring that. So I mean, best of luck on that, and that's
Thanks.
definitely something worth keeping an eye on. So any final words of advice or takeaways that you want to share before we wrap this up?
Yeah, so let's see. I got in the business when I was 17. I got licensed when I was 18. I'm 26 now, I think.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah, I
even
saw
remember
your
how old I am.
consumer access had Chick-fil-A on it still.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was working at Chick-fil-A before I moved into the mortgage business for sure. So yeah, I'll be 27 in February. For me, a lot of like, to a certain degree, I feel like age definitely held me back a little bit in my career. Like if I'm comparing, the length of my career and production versus the length of somebody else's career and production, you know, I would say that probably age has held me back, I think, a little bit. But more so than that, it's always, success is always a choice, right? And I didn't really choose to be successful until about 2 years ago. And so I would say for anyone that's watching this, especially if you're younger and you just feel like you're turning the wheels or you're spinning your tires and nothing's catching, right? At the end of the day, even if it's just your mindset that is preventing you from getting deals, like if you're not in the mindset of I deserve these deals, I can get these deals, it's going to happen, you are going to self-sabotage and you're going to be your own worst enemy. And so, like I said, at the end of the day, success is a choice, and I'm just glad that I realized that when I did. And it took me a while to figure that out, but now that it's been figured out, like, the wheels are turning and things are getting done.
Yeah. Assume the win, right? With everything you do, act as though you've already won, and the odds of winning go way up. Um,
Exactly.
I love that, man. I appreciate you coming on the show. It was great, kind of chopping it up with you and just hearing your perspective on things. And I appreciate you being on the lowdown.
Awesome. Thanks, Connor. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah.